Hi, this is Pat from the Crystal Lake Public Library, and today I will be showing you how to create a counted cross-stitch Valentine card. Supplies needed: the instruction sheet, white cardstock, red cardstock, your counted cross-stitch heart pattern. If you're not familiar with counted cross-stitch, this is a general sheet of instructions and tips and tricks. You will need a piece of 11 count Aida cloth, a needle, red embroidery floss. If you choose to make the envelope, you will need an 8.5 by 8.5 sheet of white paper. Additionally, you will need some adhesive. I recommend double-sided tape. You could also use a glue stick. You'll need scissors, and you could use for parts of this an X-Acto knife. If you do use the X-Acto knife, be sure to have something underneath your project to protect your surface. Pencil and ruler. We're going to start with our thread. Generally, what we call embroidery floss comes in 6 strands. For this particular project, we are going to be doing using 2 strands, but to make the 2 strands, we're going to just pull 1 strand out, and I've already kind of started that, and you'll see that this sometimes gets a little knotted, but you just go carefully, and then that'll be fine. So set that aside. So now I have my 1 strand, which I'm going to fold in half. So that those 2 ends are together. And then we have a loop at the other end. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the 2 separate ends and we're going to thread our needle. This is our embroidery needle. It's got kind of a large hole in it so that you can get different size threads in there. And I'm going to use a needle threader, but you don't have to. This is just happens to be something I've got, so I'm going to use it. Okay, so I'm going to do it so that I have about, I don't know, somewhere like that. It's about halfway down. And this loop stays here. You are not going to knot the loop. You're just going to leave it. Okay, next step. Here is your counted cross stitch pattern. And usually when you start a cross stitch project, you're going to want to find the center so that you can get your everything centered on the actual piece of Aida cloth. So for this, you'll usually find arrows that kind of will guide you to that. And then what you're going to want to do is mark the center. I often like to use a marker, but you could use a pencil, really anything you want. You don't have to mark it, but it is easier. So here I'm going along this line, and then here is the other. So this is my spot. So I'm going to mark it. So that's what I'm going to start with. My first stitch is going to be that one. Now, on my Aida cloth, here's my piece of Aida cloth. This is a fairly small piece for this project. And all you're going to want to do then to find your center is you're going to fold it in half. And then fold it in half again. And then with a pin, you could even mark it with a pencil if you marked it lightly. You just want to find that center. And so we're just going to put a pin there. And it doesn't have to be, like if it's one thing over or one thing up, it's not the end of the world. It's more really to kind of, you don't want it to be all the way over here or all the way up here. You want it to be about the center. So here's our center. So now we can start stitching. So here we have our thread. It's got the loop at the end, and here's our center. So we want to start on the center one, which we've already marked, and so we're going to go these 6 stitches. And we're going to start underneath. And notice your, I guess I can take this out because I kind of know where it is now. You see all these holes in this cloth? That's where your needle's going to go. So I'm going to start there. And I'm going to pull it through, but not all the way. So we're going to leave that loop. Okay, and I'll just hold on to that with my one finger. Okay, so now I'm going to take, and notice here how it's showing you, you're going to go across, and then, so 1 to 2, and then 2 down to 3, that's going to be underneath, and then over, and then you're going to cross over. So let's try. We're going to go, whoop, almost lost it. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to take this and go down. But notice when we go through, we're going to take our needle and we're going to put it through that loop. And we're very gently just going to pull this. And that's going to hold your thread. Okay, so now this is from 1 to 2. Now we're going to go down to 3. Oops, there we go. And, okay, there we go. You don't want to leave extra thread underneath. You want it to be not super taut, but you don't want it to have extra stuff. So we're going to do another one. Now, if I wanted, I could do each individual cross stitch. That's, I believe, called, I think, the English method. I use the Danish method, which is what many people tend to use, particularly in this country. And that's where you do a whole bunch of stitches going one direction, and then you cross them over. All right, so I've got 4 done. And then we're going to do 5. And then we're going to do 6. So now I've got my 6 going, these 6 here going across. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take, and this is what it looks like underneath, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to take and I'm going to go down. There we go. And now I'm going to take my needle and go across. And there's my first cross stitch. And then I just continue that pattern. And because this is such a simple pattern, it's all one color, and it's a simple shape, this is a great thing to start with. You can get quite elaborate on these. And there are many free patterns out on online if you're looking for things. And you can certainly find them in craft stores. I want to make sure this is okay. That. Now sometimes it may knot up a little bit. That's okay. It's usually just kind of pull at it gently, and it usually straightens up. There we go. And one more. Then I usually need to kind of pull this because you only really want the 2 strands to be stitching. You don't want to double that up. Okay, so now I've finished my row. So now where do I go? Well, it's kind of like however you want to do it. You could continue going this way and then go down, or continue going up and just do this side and then do that side. There's really no one way you have to do it. It's kind of up to you. You just need to get all of these cross stitches made so that you create your heart. Now, I'm not going to be able to create the whole heart for you in this video, but I will show you one other thing. Say I'm coming to the end of my thread, and what do I do with it? Well, what you'll do is you'll bring it to the back, your needle with your thread, and you'll have obviously a much shorter piece of thread than this. But then what you'll do is you'll just take your needle and you'll go underneath your threads, not the white part, just the red part. And go however, about a row, 5, 6 or so. And take that and then just pull it through. And it'll be a little bit tighter than what you've been doing. So now that thread will be held by these other stitches, and then you can just cut this off right here, obviously with the shorter thread. There are also lots of videos out there that show you how to do all the basics of counted cross stitch, and I have included 1 or 2 of them in my instruction sheet. So if you want to take a look at those, they also might give you some tips and tricks. I know I had never before started my cross stitch using that method of the loop. I had always done it where I started it with a piece of thread there and I just had to keep going over it. This I found to be simpler. So this is your cross stitch. So finish your heart and then we'll come back and we'll work on the card. Now we'll prep our cardstock for our completed heart pattern. If you are getting the kit, you'll have 2 pieces of cardstock, white and red, and the red will have a window template on it. If you aren't getting the kit, this particular template that makes 2 is on our website calendar, and you can find that for February 2022. What you want to start with is, with this to the facing the white, you want to just kind of place these together to see that they're creating a nice border. They're going to be a little bit like that. So you've got the insides and the red is all around. You don't want it to be all to one side. So you just kind of want to get a sense of that. Okay, so you're aware. Okay, then you're next going to take your white and you're going to fold it in half carefully. And if you have a bone folder, you can use that. You don't have to. You can just use your hands. Okay, so that's our white. And then our red, we want to be sure that this is going to the inside. So we're also going to do that. Okay, all folded. And that's how that'll work together. So now we're going to work on, set the white aside, and we're going to work on, and you can kind of fold this either way to kind of, there you go, to work on this, cutting out your window. You can use an X-Acto knife or you can use scissors. I do kind of a combination. What you want to do, and notice I have a rotary mat under here so that'll protect my surface, is you're going to go from one corner to the other across using the lines. You don't have to be exactly on the lines in the center because that's going to get cut away, but in the corner of it, you kind of want to be as exact as you can. Okay, so now you should have your 4. So now what you want to do is you want to take this and you want to fold this over so that it's going to be on the outside line. And fold it over. And do that all around. Making it as straight as you can. Okay. So now what this is going to do is, now you have your frame. Looks like I need to trim just a smidge right here. Okay. All right, so we have this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold it back in. And now we're going to cut this center part away so that we have this acting kind of as a beveled frame. For this, you could do your X-Acto, or you could do scissors. I'm going to do scissors for this part. It's a little tricky because it's kind of close in, but I feel like I have more control with the scissors. Okay. So there's one. So you can see it's kind of beveled. You may need to even that out. You know, when you cut, maybe it's not quite straight. That's okay. Just try not to even it out too much. It's like cutting bangs where it just gets shorter and shorter. So now you're going to continue and you're going to do all 3 other sides. But this is our card. So now our next step is to take our heart and we want to center that on the card and then attach it. So what I do is I just get a piece of double stick tape and I kind of place it here at the top, and then I position this about where I want it. And then just press. So now I've got at least one part. And then I put another piece on the bottom. That holds it. Okay, so there's my finished, the red part. Now we'll add the white card. And for that, you just want to kind of make sure that it's even. And on that fold, like so, we'll hold it and then get a piece of double stick tape. so, and one more. Okay, so now let's see if we can place that on there. Okay, and we will press down on that so it adheres, and then we'll do the other side. You could also use glue. If you're going to use craft glue, go very, very light. A glue stick would be better. Press, and here you have your Valentine card. To create an envelope for this card, start with a piece of 8.5 by 8.5 inch copy paper. Then, using a piece of cardboard, 5.5 by 4.25, you're going to place it about 4 inches from the corner, because you're kind of, this is looking a bit like a diamond shape. So you're going to place it there, not quite at the edges, like so, and you want it to be as even as you can. You're going to start then by folding up the bottom, and then folding over the side and making it even with the bottom. Same thing here. Loosen it just a wee bit. There we go. Then folding down the top. And this is creating your basic envelope. So now you're going to unfold it. And now fold in the sides first. And fold down that bottom part. And then fold up the top. And now what you're going to do is you're going to trim this piece here. Just with the scissors. And then you're going to use, I use a glue stick, but you could kind of use, you know, whatever you want. Especially you want to glue it there on the sides. Here. Okay. And then press that. Okay, and you'll let that dry. And then to attach your top, you can either use glue once you put your card in there, or you could use a sticker, something like that. But here we have a completed one. And you can see that your card will slide right in and ready to mail, to give to your Valentine. I hope you have enjoyed today's craft. As always, if you are looking for the instructions or templates or have any comments or questions, that contact information will be at the end of this video. Happy Valentine's Day and happy crafting.